A few more topics that are important to consider here. I've mentioned colorblindness, but colorblindness is when you can't distinguish between certain colors. There's two colorblindness tests that are displayed here, and there's a link if you want to go online and take more tests to see if you're colorblind. I am not, so I can see the numbers in both of these circles. And there are ways that you can make your color scheme more separable for people who have color blindness. So one idea would be to increase saturation. So here's the scale that people without color blindness can see, and then this has been adjusted to be sort of what a person with color blindness would see. So these I can still see, there's like sort of a just noticeable difference there, but it's not great. But if we saturate those colors more, they're still very separable to me as someone who is not colorblind, but to someone who's colorblind, they're much more noticeably different. And then if you have hues that are hard to separate, like these two, these are very hard to distinguish if you're colorblind, but you could shift the hues to make them more distinguishable by colorblind people. There are Colorbrewer palettes that help here. So we've got the sort of red-green palette and how this would look with different forms of color blindness. A better diverging palette would be the magenta-green palette, very distinguishable for people who are not colorblind, but also still distinguishable for the common types of color blindness. So color is contextual, and I mean this in a couple ways. One is that the way that color looks depends on what it is next to. And you can get these optical effects that, this looks like it is a moving GIF. It's actually a still image. Same with this one. That's a still image. And then the way that you place colors next to each other can lead to, this has sort of optical illusions. It looks to me like, one end of one of these bars is wider than the other when I look at it, but it also gives an overall color impression. So this looks pinker to me, this looks more yellow to me, and it just has to do with the ordering of these colors. Again, this is work from that color course that I took in college. Famous example would be the dress, where some people see it as gold and white and some people see it as black and blue, and it just depends on the context. So this sort of cartoon is showing you how one person could see the same color. So this whole bar is the same color as white or blue, and then this is the same color and you could see it as black or gold. I have been able to switch which one I see in the past, but the one that I primarily see is the black and blue, and I'd love to hear which one you see first. So one thing that we will talk about more when it comes to visualization is the idea of just noticeable difference. And there are different ways that things can be just noticeably different. You could have just noticeably different lengths, just noticeably different areas, etc. But if we were thinking about just noticeable difference for color, we might want two colors that could be distinguished, even if we were doing a quantitative color scheme that we wanted to be going from lighter to darker colors in the same color family, but we want them to be distinguishable. So here I've got two different blues. I don't know if you're going to be able to distinguish them on the screen, but I can tell the difference when I'm looking at them at this size. So I can distinguish between these two, but then the same colors are displayed down here, and I cannot distinguish the difference between them at that size. So size has an impact on this just noticeable difference of colors. And again, what color is against makes a big difference. So when you look at this, it looks like this central square is darker, but of course they're the same color. And you can use that to affect, again, this is work from that color class that I took, where we are showing how to make contrast look greater by doing different colors on the outside. So you can do this with sort of any color. Those differences, just noticeable differences, are relative to color as well. So if I'm looking on this dark background or on this light background, these two colors don't really look distinguishable, but if I put it on this middling sort of green background, I can distinguish the difference between those colors.